1 minute. Five, four, three, two, 1, 0.
What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? Welcome to another evening of the well. This is July the 8th, 2021, and you are watching the Well Encounter. I'm so happy to be with you. It's your boy, Pastor Ramon, aka Pastor Ray. And what a wonderful day it's been. A pretty hot day here on the East Coast and kind of rainy. But we're so super stoked to be with you tonight. We start our brand new series, Holy Hot Summer. That's right. It's a hot, holy summer, and we're so excited to be bringing you this series. We're going to deep dive into long. So all through July, all through August, we're going to be talking about some great things. And tonight we're talking about stereotypes. We got a great diverse panel with us, and we're going to be talking about all sorts of stereotypes, whether they're real, how to deal with them, are they, should they ever be used, all that sort of stuff. And I want to take a moment, pause, and say good evening to all the folks that are already watching with us. I see Monika is on, so hey, Monika, glad that you're on with us.
Yes, we are.
Okay, cool. I'm sorry. Hey, everybody, sorry about that. We had a little technical difficulty, but we are back live now. And I am glad to be back on with you. As I was saying, we're in the midst of a holy hot summer experience with the well. And tonight we're talking about stereotypes. So you guys already know what is the well. The well is a conscious awareness art and creative arts ministry and faith community. And we're looking forward to bringing you more and more content like this. Stuff that traditional church might not always talk about. We know some do, some don't. But we just want to go ahead and move forward and talk about all that sort of things. Listen, we have the 5 P's here at the well. And everything we do should lead you down that road. So we hope that all of our conversations lead you down the path to the 5 P's. What are the 5 P's? I'm glad you asked. The 5 P's are promise, power, purpose, peace, and passion. Passion, purpose, promise, peace, and power. Everything that we do should lead you down the road to experience one of those 5 P's. And if you have conversations that you love for us to talk about, feel free to share that with us. We're on Facebook and we're on YouTube. Also, follow the Amplify Network. Again, comment and let us know that you're here, so that we know that you're here. So make sure you speak and go ahead and share this on your page. I want to say what's up to my boy Juwan, who's always also watching. And you can follow us in the Count of the Well. Listen, super producer Jackie's in the back. And we want to go ahead and bring you the full panel. So why don't you go ahead, super producer Jackie from the Amplify Network, and why don't we check out our guests for tonight, our friends that are with us. Woo, woo, there they go. Beautiful, beautiful, awesome people. Glad to see you. Listen, my boy Brennen B is sporting the fresh shape up. I ain't saying nothing about it earlier, but I see you got the fresh shape up going on, man.
Nah,
Look at all
it's
that.
actually like 3 weeks old, bro.
For real. So you mean your face? So you trying to say your face just keeps up like that? Is basically what you're saying.
Listen, man, listen, God blessed us with the sun. The sun blesses my skin. What we gonna do?
But they say black don't crack. That's what they say, man. That's what they say.
Hey, man, listen, I love it for it.
I know that's right. I know that's right. Go ahead and say something to the people, Brendan. Anything you want to say to the people now that we're live?
Listen, y'all already know, black at it again, black at it to win. Happy to be here and ready for the conversation.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And as I said, our boy 3J is on the way. I see that he is definitely tuned in and in the chats. I want to introduce two wonderful people to you guys. They're both two friends of mine, beautiful queens that are on with us tonight. I'll start with the person that is immediate to me on my screen. She's to my right on the screen. But Becky, why don't you just share a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and anything else you'd like the people to know about you?
Hey, I'm Becky EngWong, and I know Pastor Ramon through the Table Church in Washington, D.C. And I've been here, I think, since about 2015, but before that I was in Boston for 9 years and grew up in Jersey, so I'm a Jersey girl at heart. But yeah, I'm just really pumped to be here. I know Pastor Ramon has, been really eager for us to connect for the well, and I'm really excited to finally be able to make it. So thank you for having me.
Yes, indeed. So glad to
I'm
have
gonna I'm
her.
gonna try my best not to judge you for being from Jersey.
It's fine. You can judge me all you want. I'll just ignore it entirely.
I love it. I love it.
A Jersey girl. Did you ever have a Jersey accent? Like, did you ever talk like the
Uh,
Jersey people?
it's it's funny because I realized going to Boston for school that I'd say water a lot, but I noticed that you say water too. So I don't know what that's about. But I somehow like just changed that one accent, so I started saying water. So I don't know if that sounds more normal, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I say water all the time. I get it.
what do you do?
Um,
Water.
I, water or something. Also, we have another wonderful, beautiful queen on, right to the right of Brennan. And this is another friend of mine, Rhema. Why don't you just share with the people who you are, what you're doing right now, where you're from, and all that's going on with you, so people can get a glimpse into you in your life.
Cool. So my name is Rhema Johnson. Hi, guys. Pastor Raymond actually married me and my husband, so cute, cute vibes. I'm originally from California. Well, kind of. I'm originally from India, lived in California, went to DC for grad school, and I met him at the Table Church, and then now I'm back in LA, which is full of happiness. Um, and I finished grad school, and I'm in the process of applying to medical school right now.
Listen, y'all are some smart people, man. I'm trying to tell you, like,
We're trying.
amazingly
Let's all
smart
say a
people.
prayer.
Yeah. How is that? How is that going for you, by the way? Med school and everything. Is it going well?
So I have most of my application ready. I take my exam in like a month. So let's all fast and pray. Just kidding. Maybe not fast, but definitely pray.
Super dope. Super dope. Super dope.
Best of luck with that.
Well, yeah, yeah, for sure. So we're going to step right into our conversation for this evening. We're talking about stereotypes. I thought you guys are so dope to have on this because we all, I think, at some point have talked about stereotypes, lived through stereotypes. We witness it all the time. When Brennan, 3J, and I were talking, we were like, yo, we have to have this conversation. But yeah, I think the first thing that I want to do is just sort of make sure that people have some sort of definition of stereotypes. And so the dictionary defines it as a widely held but fixed and oversimplified image or idea of a particular type of person or thing. All right, that's the dictionary. But what I would like to do is like, to you guys, what are stereotypes? Like, how do you even begin to define what a stereotype is? Anybody
I'll
can
let
go.
one of our guests go first.
I feel like it's just a social construct that humans made up in their minds so that they could fit people or ideas in boxes so that their mind can feel like validated. So it's just like, yes, I know what immediately just based off of that person's cover or whatever, I can put them in a box and my brain's happy because of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anything different, guys? Anything you want to add to that?
And just to like piggyback on that, I think it's a way of, I think a lot of people use it in like unfamiliar spaces just to feel like they know something about someone, though they might not. And it's almost like a security blanket in some occasions. Which could, I mean, it could, some of them, like, you know, quote goes both ways.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I think my response was similar. It's more um is absolutely something we create. It's not something that is, I don't want to say real, but accurate most of the time. I mean, there are cases where, and I think that what kind of what Rima said is the truth. Is like we use it to try and understand a group of people, and so we'll oversimplify them to be all in this group or this one way, versus really, taking the time to explore why they're different and what we don't understand about the other
so it's like it kind of sounds like, like we are all saying like it's just the humanistic way of trying to like categorize people. So
people.
speaking of categorizing people, why don't we just go ahead and like break the ice now? I'm sure that people watching are definitely trying to guess, like, so where, like, because I asked the question, like, where are you guys from? And Becky, of course, you talk about Jersey, Rima, I don't know if you mentioned it, right? But like, so like, why don't we just go ahead and break that ice? Like, where are you all from? What is your ethnicity? Well, I shouldn't say from. Where are you? What is your original ethnicity? And do you mind sharing that with folks?
Sure, I can go first. So I am from India, but I'm like obviously like Indian American because I grew up here as well. So I'd say I'm like a product of two cultures.
Yeah, yeah,
And
and
I'm, oh, go ahead.
I just want to say, and Rima, your husband David, is also right. Like, so can you just share like
Sure, yeah,
you
he's not
guys
here.
just saw the
Yeah, sure. So my husband is Jamaican by like ethnicity, but he's never actually been there. Like he grew up in upstate New York. Um, but he doesn't
What
like
part of
really
upstate?
identify Monroe. It's literally in the middle of nowhere.
Wait, Monroe County or Monroe? Like that's the city.
I have no idea. I've been there like twice. Was not super fond of upstate. It was too cold. I couldn't handle it. It was way too much for my spirit.
That's
Um,
actually that's where I'm from.
Stop. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
dead
Well, you'll be
serious.
here soon.
Born and
You guys
raised in
can
Rochester,
chop
New
it up.
York.
Stop. That's wild. Um, but he doesn't really identify with like being from Jamaica. He identifies more as being from New York, and I think with me, I identify as both Indian and American, and I think like I probably have more of a struggle kind of balancing both, whereas like he probably doesn't as much.
yeah, yeah. And then yeah, Becky, if you want to share.
Yeah, I'm actually sixth generation Chinese American, so I am ethnically Chinese, but the reason why I say like I am from Jersey is because I was born and raised in Jersey. Both my parents were born and raised in Newark, New Jersey. My grandmother was born in Detroit, Michigan. Like my family has been here since the 1800s, the 1840s specifically. So yeah, we're just really American in that sense, but I still, I guess, identify as like Asian American, less so Chinese specifically, but just Asian American culturally speaking. I grew up similar to David in a very like East Bumble F like town in the northern part of Jersey, and it was a very homogenous setting. And I think it was really difficult to find or feel connection to my Asian roots there. But it was in college. I think that's when I started to meet other Asians and kind of get a sense of what it means to celebrate that ethnic background.
Yeah, yeah. So, with you guys kind of sharing your ethnicities, I think one of the things that Brendan and I both wanted to like jump into was like, what are some of the stereotypes that you guys have kind of faced your own selves just growing up and being, here in America or from America, and folks just sort of thinking different things or assuming something, like what are some of the stereotypes that you've kind of faced growing up?
Sure, I can kind of take this one. So I think like growing up, I was never like Indian enough for the people in India, but I wasn't American enough for the people in America because like I just couldn't justify like both sides, right? So and I also didn't know how to pick a side. Like little things like asking my parents to go somewhere like in high school. Like obviously I had to, they're Indian, like they would literally like disown me. But like that's something my American friends could not really understand or relate to because they'd just be like, "You're over 18, like you can do whatever you want." And I'm like, "I could be married, and my mom will still be telling me exactly what to do." And that's just like a culture thing. And I think also like I am Indian, but I'm also Christian, and a lot of people just don't realize that like we actually exist as much as we do. Um, and I think like the biggest one that I think David and I both get recently is like, oh my gosh, like, are your parents okay with you guys being married? And I'm like, my mother will disown me and take him, like, off top. So I'm like, they're really like close to him. So I think that is probably one of the bigger ones. But I think growing up, even like, after the 9/11 era, I get pulled out of every line in every airport. But it just like happens because obviously it like I look Indian.
Yeah,
So I think those are like the
yeah,
big ones.
yeah. And I mean, I guess Becky, kind of same question for you. I'm sure you have faced so many different types of stereotypes growing up. What are some of those things that you faced then and even face now?
Yeah, I mean, it was mostly growing up, 'cause, being around a bunch of white folk. It's easy to crack the jokes, and you have SARS, that kind of thing. Um, but a lot of that kind of stereotype, I found a lot to be like in school because I was actually an awful student. I was like straight C's, D's kind of student, like academic probation in college, like that kind of went that route. Had a little bit of a drinking problem. So like I really didn't meet a lot of those stereotypes, but a lot of teachers you can kind of sense like were really confused because all the other Asians were like fine, like they're excelling. Or they would be you know, like, expected me to, I don't know, do better. I don't know. So there's just that kind of expectation that was never met.
Yeah. I mean, I want to welcome my brothers back with me. As you can see, he just
Yeah.
kind of popped up on the screen. um,
Crept in like a ghost.
Nah,
listen,
that's he on that iPhone time. He should have stayed with the Android, switched over, and now he late.
so you guys don't know, DJ was with Android. He just
Ah,
just switched over to iPhone this week. so,
Trader.
um,
go on, Brandon.
listen, I want to get Brennan and 3J in this, but Becky, I guess that is probably one of the things I have always heard. Like, you cannot be Asian and like not be super educated, honor roll your whole life. Like, you have to be honor roll if you're Asian. Like, that always was something that
Yeah.
people always think, right? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I had really permissive parents, I think, honestly. I think my dad got beat a lot in his life for like, also being a terrible student. And so I think like he kind of went the opposite effect where he's just like, I love you no matter like what. Like if you tried your best, that's all I ask. And so it's never great, honestly, as a kid growing up with that. Like, I love my dad and he's literally like my best friend, but I think that really like bit me in the butt in school because I was just like, I'm fine. My dad loves me. I don't need to excel in school. I just need to like pass. Really was like the kind of threshold I need to. So like really excelling in school was never like a huge goal of mine. Like I was just trying to get by.
no, that makes sense. That makes
Which
sense.
definitely challenges the stereotype. Yeah.
I mean, but Brennan, I don't want to leave us out the conversation, bro. I know that you have probably faced your own deal of stereotypes. Period. So I mean, I'm gonna let you share because I'm dying to hear
Fam, I'm a
what.
I'm a I'm a 6'2" black dude with dreads that doesn't speak the Queen's English. Like, I mean, it is what it is. Um, I'm me, and I think for to I don't want to say their detriment, but you know, Yeah, to their detriment, a lot of people will misjudge me as not being educated, not being knowledgeable, not being an expert in what I do. Um, but they'd sadly be mistaken. And I think the one thing I realized is those. I kind of like sometimes like being the outsider from the stereotype. I like being something different so that you know when people think it's like you can absolutely, like, everybody's entitled to their beliefs. I can't personally change anyone's beliefs, but what I can do is offer you evidence that your beliefs may be incorrect.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. What about you, 3J?
What about what?
You got any stereotypes for people?
Yeah, I actually when I was younger,
Yeah, as an iPhone user.
hey, look, I mean, like, it's heavy right now, bro. It's heavy on me right now. I swear to you. But no, seriously. When I was in elementary school, that's actually where it started off at. Everybody at first thought I was white. Now I am a Black American, so we can go ahead and clear that. I was like, well, yeah, well, you look white, and that's what a lot of people thought because of my skin complexion. They really thought that I was white back then, and not the add insult to injury. My babysitter at the time was white, and I was always with her family, so nobody really saw me with my family except for my mother at times. So they would normally see me with them. So they even in my school, everybody thought that, oh, you're a white kid, just a little tan, if that's possible. What the heck you mean that? All right, whatever. But yeah, I got it nice. They ain't know if I had white privilege or whatever the case may be. Like, I got it heavy when I
Yeah.
was young.
No, that's so interesting though. I just want to share that too because like it's so funny he says that. I was just in a conversation the other day with somebody who was like, you don't realize the privilege you have of being light skinned. They literally said that. But I like there's this thing that I always am telling people like that, yes, yes, absolutely at times there is a privilege in being light skinned. However, there's also this crazy thing that comes with it because like I grew up in a DC elementary school where a lot of the kids were darker than I was, and so there was also this like stigma and this stereotype around like, oh, he thinks he's better than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like people assume that light skin means one, they think light skin means you're going to have this really pretty hair. They also think that light skin means that you think that you're like much better than everybody else, and that you must come from the good stock. And that's just not like that's
Also, that
not
you take the best photos.
Yeah, yeah, and so people always think that there's definitely stereotypes that go into like the complexion of your skin. Um, Jawan said, "I was definitely the token black kid. Not
Mm.
too many black kids in shady side schools in my day." Laugh out loud. um, yeah, I hear you. So
Oh no.
am I back? Can you guys hear
Uh-oh.
me?
Why would they do
Yeah, now
that?
you're back.
Okay,
Okay. Can you see
what?
me?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
went
yeah.
away.
We see
Okay. All
Yeah,
right. Well,
yeah.
good. As long as you guys can see me. Um,
you.
do you guys think that stereotypes are true? Like, is there any truth to stereotypes? While you're asking, I'm going to come out and come back in, but you can go ahead and answer the question. Do you think that there are any stereotypes that are absolutely true?
I mean, there is a little bit of reality in a lot of stereotypes, but I don't think that just because one like Indian girl does it doesn't mean every Indian girl has to do it. Um, I think it just depends on the person and the whole situation. Like sometimes, sure, maybe they fit the box, but sometimes maybe they don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I, Becky, what do you think? Truth? No truth? Oh,
Yeah,
Brennan,
I definitely agree. I think. Oh, yeah, go
go ahead,
ahead.
Becky. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, humans are so complex, right? And I think people go through different seasons and phases, and are you happy? Are you sad? Like, what are you today? And I think stereotypes are just so fixed. That's like the definition that you pulled out. That it's just sure, like there's some truth, but like at what point during the day is it true?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what is it? The dead clock is right twice a day.
Brendan, were you about to say something, bro?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. For me, I don't. I think that I mean, in order for me to believe that stereotypes are true, I would have to believe like the full statement of the stereotype, and kind of like the belief behind it. And like so, from that aspect, I don't necessarily believe that stereotypes can be true. I think generalizations can be true. Um, but I mean, because and I think part of that is just like from the definition, what goes into it, like the oversimplification of something else, like it could literally make the entire statement untrue. Um,
Mhm.
and so it's like that from that standpoint, if there's too many, you know, too many variables that could make it not true, then I would say the statement isn't true. So from thinking in that frame mind. No, I don't think stereotypes are true. I think more generalizations are true. And I think that when generalizations become stereotypes is when we add in some of our misconceived opinions.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, I think you're right. Like I think there's like something about because I tell people, right, like it's hard for me because when you're trying to like teach people about racial differences,
Mhm.
like I
Yeah.
so I know I don't get offended too easily, but I also can get offended real quick depending on who it's coming from. So like I'm just gonna keep it real. Like
Yes,
And
when a
what's
white,
said?
you know what I'm saying? So like
exactly.
so like when
Exactly.
a white person says something to me, I'm a little more offended than a black person. Like like
The N word.
well, yeah, but like even like but like even in stereotypes, like if a black person is like we can go to a cookout and a black person is like, "What? You don't eat water? I mean, I eat no. Better yet, I
No,
used to
that
no
was
no no
like
no no. I used
that
to
was,
not eat macaroni and cheese. So like when I didn't eat macaroni and cheese, like black people were
Which
always
is a
like
black card revoked. Like you
you
can
know what
get your
I'm saying?
black card
They were
revoked
like,
for that
no,
offense. Yeah.
exactly. They're like, bro, you're not black. You're not black, right? I can deal with that. But like the moment that a white person says like, oh, I thought black people eat like macaroni and cheese all the time. Absolutely a foul. Absolutely a foul. Like you did not, like you did not, like.
Mhm.
So I don't
Valid.
know, like,
That's the
yeah. I mean, like, I want to know, like, do you guys have? Is it similar? And actually, let me just say this: if you're watching, welcome to the well.
What's
We're
up,
talking
y'all?
about stereotypes. I know that Jawan said I think some stereotypes are indicative to culture, but culture is definitely represented by where you're placed.
Mhm.
Um, oh, Chop says Becky, he sees you're on, so you know
Hey,
the
bro.
Chop. um, Monica
Long time no
says.
see.
Malika says, I'm stereotyped being a preacher's kid, and I definitely don't fit what they say about preacher kid girls. So yeah, that's real. Um, I want to know, like,
they
do
say a
you
lot
all have
about preacher kid girls though. So
Hey,
yo?
look.
they get the full gambit. I don't
Oh
even
man,
know. Like
they get it all, yeah. Whew.
So do you all have those moments where, like, like your people in your culture can say something to you that it's like, yeah, it's okay, but the moment somebody outside of your culture says it, it's like, hold up, wait a minute now, like that's totally offensive. Like, do you have moments you can share like that, or has it happened?
This might be more for David, but we were just talking about this the other day, where like obviously I would never say the N word because like obviously not, but like he said it sometimes, and like our kids would probably one day say it, but like I could never say it, and I don't think it's right for people who aren't black to say it, um, just because it's like not like it's not my. I mean, it is. I'm married to the culture, but I can't just like take it on and racial devils all this thing. Like that'd be
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, yeah.
But I think for me personally, um, like like the stupid jokes about like, do you wear dots or feathers or stuff like that. If an Indian person said it, I'd be like, okay, you're just a little ignorant. A white person said it, like I'm ready to catch arms and go the whole mile.
He said catch arms.
But or even
Woo.
like making fun of
I
like
never heard somebody say catch arms. That's dope.
I ain't but that's new. That is new.
but even
I
like
Catch
like
arms.
that.
the the jokes about like, oh my gosh, curry's so smelly, or like especially when we were younger, where like it wasn't cool to eat Indian food. Um, like you would like get picked on, but like now it's like turmeric lattes are saving the world, but like we've had them for a billion years. So I think
Yeah.
like now it's a little more accepted, but growing up, like if a white person said something, I'd be like, excuse me, like you don't know what you're talking about. But Indian person says something, I'm just like, all right, you have the G card, like go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Still
yeah,
ignorant,
absolutely.
but go ahead.
Yeah, 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 absolutely, absolutely. Brennan, Becky, y'all want to chime in on that?
They can go ahead because I don't think I have one right now. For my personal self, I don't think I have one.
I mean, I think it's just I think it's like things that like are sensitive in the community that, sometimes we've like to cover up, not necessarily knowing how to do it. We make a joke out of it, like internally, like within the community. And so like those things we know and understand, like the seriousness behind the joke. And
Mm-hmm.
for somebody outside of us to make that joke is like, no, 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 you haven't like, you don't know that pain, so you can't laugh at it. Like
Right.
you can't
Hmm.
enjoy this moment the same way we do. So it,
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, I mean, there's plenty of moments like that, like touching my hair. Um, like that is
Hmm.
definitely something that I'm not really a fan of. um, I mean, there's that. I mean, absolutely, the N word is one of those offenses. Um, the cultural foods thing, like fried chicken, watermelon, macaroni and cheese. I've never eaten and will never eat chitlins a day in my life. But
Oh,
even
I'm
that
with you.
type
I'm
of
with you. I'm with you. I'm with
it's
you.
those, but those types of things, like within our community, I absolutely will joke if somebody, if a black person said to me like, "Yo, you don't eat chitlins," I'd be like, "No, I would never in my life." But if a white person said it, I'm gonna look at you a little weird.
Nah,
Hmm.
now I just got the color chitlin. That is
Yeah, I
nasty
hate
right
chitlins too.
now. Like, oh my
Becky,
god.
Becky,
Oh.
I'm curious to know, like, Becky,
Mm.
I, I mean, outside of just like the education thing, I also wonder, like, do you ever get jokes about like eating like rice or like like people expect it
Hmm.
like sushi or you know what I'm saying? Like, do you ever hear or think or do people you know?
Yeah, I mean, definitely the food aspect. Like growing up, it's like, oh, do you eat dog? Like, that typical like nonsense from white folk. But, I was actually gonna say though, I think it's really interesting that we're talking about this because I was thinking about just like in the larger Asian community, how we stereotype each ethnicity, and how it's like somewhat accepted in some circles, but not like there's some, I think ethnicities are more protective of like their identities than others. So like, you have like Ali Wong that will make fun of everyone, like
Yeah,
herself
yeah,
included. And, she'll be on stage like talking about other ethnicities and how she'll just take like giant dumps on them because, for like their own, whatever, how they want to be seen and stuff like that. So it's funny, like the mixed bag, because I've actually been in those like awkward situations where you're like, oh, that wasn't cool to say that. Like just because they're Asian, like blanket statement does not make that okay to say if you're not
yeah.
part of that ethnic group. So it is interesting, like the larger swath of the AAPI community.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, and then the question is like, do you ever find yourselves? And what's up, David? David's joining us. This is Rima's husband,
Hey.
David. Good to see you, David. Doctor,
Shout out
Doctor
to
David.
Dave.
Uh-oh. Um, we're just talking about stereotypes. Good to see you, brother. For those of you all who don't know, actually, I love this couple because I had the chance to actually officiate their marriage a couple years back in California, and it was a super dope experience. There's a picture somewhere, I think, of that. Jackie, I think, has. It was the greatest experience. Let me just share this real quick because um, when I was doing it, it was the first wedding that I forgot to announce that they could kiss the bride. He could kiss his bride at the end. So, like,
That is true.
so it was super
Good job.
crazy because, and
Good
Jackie, I
job,
don't know
man.
if you have this picture. Yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah.
it. Uh, it was super crazy because I pronounced them man and wife, And I'm like, I'm ready for them to like walk down the aisle, and like Rhema turns to me and she's like, "So can I kiss my husband?" I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
You may.
yeah."
That's funny.
So it was a great moment. David, to catch you up, we're talking about stereotypes, man. Just do you want to share with people? We've kind of talked about where we're from, what our ethnicity is, and Rima has shared that about your background. But do you want to just give people a little bit about your background in terms of your ethnicity and what you're doing right now with your life and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so I was born in Florida, moved to New York, and grew up in New York. Um, my background is Jamaican. Both my parents are Jamaican. Um, and right now I am at UCLA as a psychiatrist. Um, and it's great out here.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And to stay with you real quick, David, we're talking about like moments of like stereotyping. So like, what are some of the things that when you say I'm from Jamaica, like, and here's the other thing too. I would assume that some people are probably surprised to know you're from Jamaica. They just probably assume that you're like, or know that your family's from Jamaica. They probably just assume, oh, like, straight up black, like he ain't got nothing else in him. But like, what are some of the things that people sometimes like do not knowing or stereotype you as once they find that out?
Yeah, so I'm like a really hard worker. So, and I've always been like, pretty respectful. So after they ask me like the question of, oh, what's your ethnicity? And I say, oh, Jamaican, they're just like, oh, that must mean that explains why you're respectful, you have manners,
Uh,
as well as, why you have such a good work ethic. It's like that saying, like if you're Jamaican, you got three jobs. Like,
That's the thing.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Um, so
Nah,
just like,
that's definitely a thing. That is definitely a thing.
yeah. But yeah, no, I think it was just like kind of that, and like the shock of people kind of looking at me differently because I have a Jamaican background. Initially, them just thinking that I was black, and kind of just like, treating me differently and not really valuing like any of my input or even my participation in anything that I was really doing. But the second they find out that I'm Jamaican, they're just like, it's like kind of switch. And it was not just with white people, but with black people as well. Um, Everyone kind of just shifts when you tell them that you're not Black American, you're Jamaican American. Um, they look at you like with a different lens altogether.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. I saw somebody put Miss Nikki, who is our one of our great commentators in the chat. She said people probably assume that you're a Rasta or something when you run into black people. I will admit so I want to talk about moments that I know we get stereotyped, but I'm sure there are moments that we have probably stereotyped. I know I'm guilty of it. I would admit, just now you definitely convicted me because I have been guilty of saying that I'm working like a Jamaican, and so like I realized, yeah, it's so easy to fall into like as soon as he said it, like I got totally convicted. I was like you're talking about me, like. But like, what are some of the moments that you guys have had where you have been in the seat of actually stereotyping somebody else?
The night we met.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So the night we met, I I didn't have much experience with Indian women in general. So I remember I was talking to Rima, and the only Indian woman who I'd known had like arranged marriages, and even my friends who were like males who were Indian had arranged marriages. So like I was just like, hey, like I like this conversation, I like how things are going. Do you have like an arranged marriage or something going on? Like just someone I should know about.
Wow.
That was the shot on night one. Oh my
Yeah,
God,
yeah,
that's what you let out with.
yeah. There.
But it worked out because you guys got
Whew.
married. Like,
I mean, because
but
I'm
still,
forgiving,
like,
and I was like, "You're not
Right, and
Jamaican."
I was about to say, you remember he got himself a good one because Rima definitely is forgiving right
I was just
there.
like, "No, I don't have an arranged marriage. I'm Christian." Like, what do you mean?
yeah,
But
yeah, that's crazy.
David, you're a bold man. I must say that. You're a bold gentleman, man.
Wanted to know. I had to know what it was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. What about
Listen, I don't
anybody?
know if I have anything to top that one, but
Yeah, right.
like,
I was about to say stop that. Like,
I
I
mean,
got one. I got
you
one.
actually, and
Go ahead.
so
Hmm.
mine is actually, I grew up, and this was the great thing about growing up in New York. I actually grew up attending a Hispanic daycare. My mom worked at a Hispanic daycare, and I grew up there. And so I I honestly assumed like everyone that was Hispanic like just knew how to do like the salsa, merengue, bachata, like all of that. I just assumed that like basically you were born knowing how to do it.
Yeah.
Boy, was I wrong. Yeah, man, that was. I mean, and it was an eye-opening thing, and I mean, I think it just even more so, even just with black people too, because as I started to assume that like all black people could dance, and it was just like, no, that's
Huh.
not like that's
Right about to
literally
touch you. Right. I was
literally
about
not
to
the
touch that
case.
too.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Dude, I know you have one too, man. He's over here cracking up because it must have touched home. When it did because so for new information about me, I dance. I street dance, and so when I was getting brought up in the dancing world, I was taught that white people can't dance. And so I ran with that for so long to the point when we used to have our old days, go to the bars and stuff like that. I would literally go tell him to go be with the white people. Why? Because he couldn't dance. So yeah.
you step over there and, we over here. However, 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 I was completely wrong that night when this white boy came and he almost outdid me. And I was like, oh, but this boy can dance. But I was
Almost
brought up
right.
white people can't dance. Hey, look, boy went off. I'm talking about flares, flips. He went off. And I'm sitting there like, yo, he looked like me. Okay. Yeah, I feel stupid saying that all white people can't dance, and this man almost beat me in a battle. Yeah, let's not say that again.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. I love Miss Nikki. She says I get stereotyped from being from Atlanta. People never believe me because they say I don't sound like I'm from Atlanta. It's like they think we're all supposed to sound like T.I. or Crime Mob.
Ti or Crime Mob is crazy.
oh,
Um, yeah, I think that's
That
pretty
you know what,
hilarious.
it actually is something that it's something that like even like being from New York, like and when people, especially like when I get like real passionate or something, or I'm like talking about sports or something I care about, like people automatically assume like I'm one of the meanest people in the world. And it's like
Yeah,
when I tell people
yeah,
where I'm from New York, oh, you guys are mean. It's like I'm really a nice
yeah,
person. Just don't cross me.
yeah.
And I'm playing.
Simple.
um, so speaking of stereotypes, I think it's also interesting that a lot of us defy stereotypes. And so we're going to move a little bit of this because David, Rima, you guys, two totally different cultures coming together. I think I'd love to talk a little bit about what some of the stereotypes that you experience within your own family dynamic,
mm.
what that looked like. And then Becky, I'm gonna come to you right after. But I
Yeah.
would love to just Rima and David, like what were some of the things and the stereotypes that you kind of even faced within your own families? And do you care to share some of those things?
Sure. I think for me, thankfully, I mean, most Indian people, unfortunately, I know I'm stereotyping my own people right now, but like are wildly racist against Black people. It's like absurd.
Mm-hmm.
But thankfully, my family wasn't. Shout out to me. But
Yeah.
I
Rima,
think
Shout
like
out
the
to
Rima,
biggest
you.
come over just a little bit so we can
oh,
see you too. Yep, there we go.
better. Um,
Yeah.
so I think like for my family, they were just like, oh, is he Christian? And the biggest thing for my mom was, are his parents still together? So I think like
Wow.
so like they kind of, I think with the media and the way things are portrayed, like unfortunately people don't like, media does not portray a, you know, black family staying together. So like that was one thing that they were like to out, and they were like so like that worked out. um but I think like that was the biggest one. And you know, like they were just like, well, is he like educated? Obviously, because like in my culture, like education is not an option. Like you just have to do it. So I think like that was one of the biggest things for on my end.
Yeah, on mine it was just like, is she Christian? My parents are like really open. They're just like, all right, if she likes you, I mean, that's great. Like, but they were just like, yeah, she just has to be Christian because I think the biggest thing for them was like, if you guys have something in common and it's faith, then whatever relationship you guys have will survive. They're like, everything else kind of falls apart if you don't have God first.
Yeah. But like we're definitely an anomaly. I genuinely do not know another Black and Indian couple who are Christian whose parents were cool with it.
Yep.
Like I didn't have to, you know,
This
threaten
is the
some men
first.
or anything crazy.
Shout out for
Yeah,
being the
like
first.
Yeah,
This is a
thank
first for
you.
me
Thank you.
too.
I'll
So
take my
yeah,
word.
absolutely. Shout out.
yeah, yeah.
Break barriers. I
I
like
think it's
that.
dope. I think it's dope. And what about like? Did you? I'm just curious. Like, did your friends, did your friends have questions or things that they kind of wondered?
I think for me, like luckily I lived in LA before, and most of my like friends that I'm really close to were from here. And it was in the era of like Kim and Kanye, so it was trendy to date Black people, like unfortunately, as weird as that sounds. So no one really like batted an eyelash. Um, and like I also had a very diverse group of friends. I
Oh,
probably had like two just white friends, um, but we like kind of taught them the ways. So I think like they were super accepting.
Yeah, my friend group was also like really accepting. They just wanted
They
to
like
know.
me more now, so it's all good.
They were like, "Oh, she's Indian,"
Yeah.
and they wanted to know about like the clothes and the culture and everything. They were like, "When can we go to India and like experience everything?" So they were more like how can we like become like get to know more about the culture and like experience it. They were just open.
That's love.
Yeah,
That's
that's dope.
great.
yeah. So guys, if you're tuning in, we're talking about stereotypes. Feel free to share this post. If you're watching, I know Miss Nikki is on, Manika is on, all of our regulars. We'd love to have you guys on. We're glad that you're here with us. For the folks that are watching this later, after we've aired it, you know, glad that you're watching too. Make sure you share it as you're watching it.
Share,
That's important.
share.
Share. Listen, I want to travel up to Becky. Because Becky, you are an anomaly as well, and that's why I love this panel. I love, first of all, let me just say that I love the well because we have these type of conversations. Rhema, your side comments are amazing because I was just like thinking about earlier. She's like, yeah, you know, it's not the Hollywood thing of like dating a black guy, and we could talk about that in a whole nother day. But Becky, you are part of the LGBTQ plus community. So
Hmm.
not only are you a lesbian Asian woman, but you are dating another lesbian Asian woman, and that is
Right.
unheard of
Yeah,
too.
that
Like, you know,
y'all
like
setting standards tonight. Like, God, breaking
Yeah,
all
we're
barriers.
we're
I love
queer.
it. Yo,
Yeah, we're
what you say?
queer. I think we both technically identify as bi, but we both have dated men in the past as well. But yeah, it's she's actually my first girlfriend, and we're both Christian, which just goes a whole nother level, you know, in terms of just defying
Oh,
stereotypes. And that's actually one thing that I've always kind of like used as like a compass for similar to Rhema David is that like I only wanted to date Christians because it's just how I grew up. It's the tradition that I grew up in, and it's what I'm most comfortable with. And so, you know, once I kind of realized like or recognized, you know, once I kind of discovered like, oh, this is actually my sexuality. This is how God, you know, designed me to be. And once I kind of accepted it and, you know, stopped kind of, you know, putting it in the shade or you know burying it deep down
mm,
beneath my conscious. I think I think God opened some doors for me, and I was able to find another like Christian Asian woman because I think it was difficult for me too. I recognized I typically only dated people of color. It's what I was comfortable with, and it's what I knew that I would probably end up with. And so, for me to kind of find like a real like partner, not having to explain myself or not having to like have that added layer of like who are you and like how do we kind of adjust to each other. It's kind of crazy that we were able to find each other during a pandemic. By the way, we've only been dating for a year and change, so we found each other over Hinge in April 2020 at the start of the pandemic, and honestly, it was like the best time to get to know someone, right? So but yeah, it was kind of crazy, just my own experience, because that was the first time I really like seriously dated a girl. And yeah, we're probably gonna get married. So it's just funny how things work
Hey,
out. Yay.
hey, yeah, I love it.
So listen, I mean, do you face? I'm sure you have got to have people that there got to be all sorts of stereotypes that like come with this, and
Yeah.
I'm dying to hear like what are some of the things that I'm sure you've gotten
Hmm.
told or you've heard or yeah.
Yeah, so I definitely was raised not only like conservative Republican kind of Christian, like that's just how my dad raised me, but also very homophobic. I think I would just remember having conversations with my dad, and we both have obviously changed throughout the years, but being a child, growing up in this like Confederate flag wielding kind of pickup truck land of like my old hometown, it was really easy to kind of fall into those stereotypes of, just stereotyping queer people as, being sinful and just being led astray and we should feel sorry for them. And so it was only, I think, in college that, I started to recognize like that's not true. And then actually, coming to the table in DC made me realize like, wow, queer Christians exist in many, many numbers, And so, the Asian community on top of that is incredibly conservative as well when it comes to queer relationships, at least East Asian cultures largely. And so, my girlfriend's Korean, and Koreans probably are like, in my stereotyped opinion, like the most conservative when it comes to being anti-LGBT. And so it's actually really great because there's this very large, lively Facebook group called Progressive Asian American Christians. And it is an fully affirming, like, very like female empowering kind of group of like thousands of Asian Christians that are, at least like the group itself promotes itself as being affirming. And I think that was really interesting for me to recognize, like, we don't have to play into the stereotype of assuming that every Asian we come across the street is going to judge us for being together. Although, like, we definitely get that, like, weird looks sometimes, like if we're holding hands. To the point where my girlfriend herself, because she's, still very uncomfortable in some circumstances, showing like PDA, which I totally understand. And so, especially if we're at like a Korean supermarket or something, I just know, like, don't touch her, like, don't hold her hand, like, and I've gotten over it. It's okay. Like, I can pretend she's like my friend, in those kind of settings. But yeah, I think honestly, that's when I feel very privileged to be like so Americanized, I guess, that like my immediate family was very actually accepting of it. So that was huge, just to have like my immediate family. And then I found out later my extended family are just very much like in love with us as a couple, and they've welcomed her with open arms. So I'm really like pleased with that as an outcome. My girlfriend's kind of situation is a little different.
Let me
Yeah,
just
go
intro
ahead.
real quick for those watching who don't know PDA, public display of affection. I just
Oh,
got
right.
to make sure because other folks, older folks that watch, and they'll be like, "Well, what did she say? Did she curse somebody?" Like, but PDA, public display of affection.
Right.
They're like, "Is she
Thank you
is
for
sexual
clarifying.
talk? Sexual innuendo?" No.
Oh.
But please, yeah, yeah, go ahead. Were you
Yeah,
wanted to say?
so but yeah, it's just a little different for my girlfriend because she yeah, it's just different, you know, coming from a Korean community, it's very different to kind of find acceptance in certain circles. So that's been a challenge, honestly, but it's honestly where I've seen God the most, I think, in our relationship, is just to see how faithful He's been to us, and just like kind of showing like what is truth in the eyes of like others that normally would stereotype us or would just normally think like you're going to hell straight up, you know. So I think that's been the most powerful kind of aspect of our relationship, and I'm grateful for it.
Mm.
I don't want to. I want to caveat there, and Brennan 3J, please get in on this too. Like, so we're talking about everybody on this particular platform identifies as Christian.
Mhm.
So then there's like past the stereotype of being Asian or having an Asian background or having an Indian background or having a Jamaican background or even a black background. But
Mhm.
then there are the stereotypes that come with being a Christian in that sense, right? Like an Asian Christian or an
Mhm.
Indian Christian.
Mhm.
I can only imagine an Indian Christian,
Hmm.
but Jamaican, like black Christian. So like, you know, like, right, like, but so what are some of the things there? Do you think, um, do you find that there are stereotypes that even come about your faith, and your race being mixed together? You
Mhm.
know,
So are
um,
you asking, is there a stereotype within Christianity?
well, in Christianity, according to your ethnicity.
Oh, absolutely. Heck yeah.
Yeah,
Heck yeah. I'm sorry, my bad. Go ahead, y'all.
yeah,
My
yeah,
bad. Yes, absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Because black churches don't do it like white churches, if that makes any sense.
yeah, 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 yeah. Because they automatically assume the black churches.
Right. Exactly. They assume we just party and everything else is black. So white
You
churches.
started.
I,
I'll jump in.
um,
Huh?
what happened?
Oh,
No,
go ahead.
I think like for me, just growing up in India and then moving here, like a lot of like Indian people have been like, "Oh, you're not really Indian because you're not Hindu," and I think like to me, I'm just like, "What do you think I am?" Like I am obviously Indian. Like I do everything. I wear the clothes, but they're like, "Well, you don't do the pujas or like you don't go to temple." So that was one thing that was like I kind of just had to be like, "Okay, you guys are crazy." But I think for us together, well, other than that, like I think living in DC and living here has also been a little different. Like here, we're celebrated and loved, and there we were looked at like we were crazy. Um,
I remember one
this
time
which one?
in Maryland.
Oh yeah, we went to this black church.
So it was a church that my parents used to go to when they spent time in Maryland. It was like years ago. The church has changed since then,
No, it's still a black church.
but it's still a black church. So they like my parents knew where it was, and they brought Rhema to the black church. And I'm there. I kind of know what's happening. I know it's gonna, when they say an hour service, really means like 3
Well, it
hours.
wasn't even that. Like,
But
first of all, this lady turns to me. I'm one of two Indian people in the entire church,
yeah,
and
they
we're the only non-black people.
Mm.
She looks at this like, "Hey, girl." Then this lady turns to me and was like, "This is the Bible. Do you know what that is?" And I was like, "Okay,
Oh
sis, I have a
no!
minor in biblical studies, but all right."
Wow.
And I was
My
like, "Yeah,
goodness.
okay." And then I was like, "Take me back to table
You
because
went
I
through the
can't."
moms?
Yeah, it was.
And
Yeah.
then we were there for like
that's
3 hours in
absolutely
one
time.
room.
Somebody got to catch arms.
Go ahead and catch arms. I'm
I need to,
sorry.
but it was church. And we were there for like 3 hours and they weren't done. It was
Yeah.
like a wild time. And then they made us stand up at one point and introduce ourselves, and I was like, I don't want to. And then the other Indian lady like came up and talked to me after, and she was like, "Oh," invited me to some like cooking thing, and I was like, "Girl, I'm never gonna see you again." But it was nice to see you. Don't at me, lose my number. But
That's the black
Yikes.
church stereotype I hate the most is that church has to be 3 hours. Um,
Uh, uh,
nothing
uh.
nothing like pains me more than the 3 hour church
But it was just
service.
like a very uncomfortable experience that I'd never want to do again.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure there's black churches that are very welcoming.
Yeah.
They just were not, and it was
Yeah.
not for me.
Yeah.
So we were really
Yeah.
grateful for the table. Finding the table, it was like finding a home, and they really accepted both me and Rima. But yeah, that was an experience.
Yeah, and then David would joke around like, "Oh, maybe we should go back," and I was like, "Are you insane? That's never happened. Absolutely not."
With a joke
David
thing.
is good with the jokes. I can see already. David
Hmm.
is real good with the jokes.
Right? I was traumatized.
Yeah. And I'm pretty
It was
sure at
rough.
some point you guys will probably have stereotypes about both being doctors. Like, there's a lot of stuff that will probably come with that too. Like,
The thing is, like, when people see me, they don't. I don't know what people think that I do, but they don't think it's medicine. They look at me. Yeah, a lot of people just assume that I really don't know
Somebody
what
thought he was a football player, and I was like,
Someone
"Run
thought I
with
was a
it,
football player.
second string Rams, go with it."
Rhema trying to get to the bag. I understand.
And I was second string Rams. It's cool, keep it going.
Yeah.
We should have.
No, we
I could have
should
been in Soho House by now, you guys. He's not letting me live my best life.
You should have charged him $100 for the autograph right then.
Right?
Yeah, but oftentimes I think that even when okay, so even when they hear like Rima goes to anything, right, and she applies for something, especially when I was at Howard doing medical school, she'd go and she'd talk to someone on the phone. She'd say, "My name's Rima Johnson. I'd love to come for a meeting about X, Y, and Z." They'd be like, "So happy to see her. So happy to hear from her." They'd be like, "Oh, Rima Johnson, this is gonna be great. Another like black lady that we can talk to." And then Rima shows up. She's not black. Things change. Yeah. So
It is.
it was definitely different. And then for me, it was like if I went around Georgetown and I didn't have like my beard shaved. I remember I didn't have my beard shaved one day, and I came out of anatomy lab, and I was just wearing some sweatpants and a sweatshirt, and yeah, and I had just sweatpants, sweatshirt, beanie on, beard out.
We
Got
went
mistaken for homeless.
No, we went to that little coffee shop in front of the Columbia Heights station, and I held his hand, and there was a homeless guy like next to us. This lady walked up to me and was like, "Why are you holding this homeless man's hand?"
Yeah.
And I was like,
Oh my gosh.
That is his card, not his.
Yeah.
Listen, there's some bold folks in this world. They'll just say anything.
Right? And she was white too, and I was like, ugh.
And
Jesus take the wheel, but
go ahead.
Oh my
it
goodness.
was wild. But again, DC was
What
trash
makes
like
her
that.
think she can say that?
People get real bold.
Lord.
I think it's a question we've been wondering for the longest time, Miss Becky. What makes white people think they can say certain things? I think that's a big question we're all still trying to figure out to today.
Yeah. I mean, and let me not say, like, I know that, and it's for people who watch it, right? Because, the well keeps it real.
Yeah.
One of the things I will admit, right? Like, I know that all of our nationalities, ethnicities, all of us can fit that trap sometimes. Mm-hmm. But it just makes your skin crawl a little bit more when it comes to a white person, right? Because they got privilege, right?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
I never forget. I was actually at a and again we've given some beautiful shout outs to Elder Mike Willard said people don't care today about what they say in those situations.
No, they don't.
Mike.
No, they don't.
I was at a brunch.
They don't care nothing about their face either. They don't care nothing about the face that God gave them. They should appreciate that more.
I was at a good I think we call them good brunches, but at the Table Church. And so again, perfect, wonderful place. But it was one young lady. She doesn't even go there anymore. Mm-hmm. We were doing the brunch for newcomers, and we were talking about catcalling. And so the young lady, white lady, she was talking about how like she was so tired. She's like, I'm so tired of them just saying whatever they want to say when I get off the metro. It's just so horrible. And so like she talks a little bit, but then she goes like, it's like I moved over in this area, but I just can't wait till they gentrify it because it just needs to get rid of all those folks.
Oh.
And I was like,
oh.
My dreads like stood up on the back of my neck. and I think
it's one thing you do not say.
And I think like all the rest of the white folks who were around like heard it, and I think it was like that moment of like total like nervousness, like how do we and how do we like not let this turn into the worst thing ever? And I don't remember who it was because I'm sitting there boiling, and I think somebody said, "Yeah, so." But we want to start with our program, and we want to go ahead and move into it. So let's just go. And I was like, "Yo, thank you," because it was about to
Just
get like I
move
was
on.
not
Move
gonna
on.
lie.
Just go. Just go. Next subject. We're
I'm
not
not
staying
gonna
here. If we
lie.
stay here, it's going down.
Hold on. But that being said, like, is there ever a time? Is there ever an appropriate time to allow stereotypes in the conversation, to allow yourself to be sort of like okay with generalizations? Is there ever okay that it's like it's a time that it's okay?
For me, I think it has to be an understanding between the people in order for you to be able to throw certain jokes out. Like it has to be an understanding. If you understand, hey, we're different ethnicities. However, there are sometimes I joke. Oh, that's cool. I joke too, and we have that understanding. Then absolutely, you'll be fine. But if that understanding is not there when it comes to differences and just other different nationalities and ethnicities, no, that is going to be a no go.
Yeah,
It's yeah, I don't think so
yeah,
for me.
yeah.
But
So in other words, you think it's like it has to be an understanding between.
there has to be an understanding between them too. Because if, say for prime example, I come at you and talk about a stereotype, and I'm just blurting some stuff out, that can make you feel away, and I don't know that. You know what I'm saying? So again, until we have that understanding, it ain't gonna go nowhere. But if we have that understanding, yeah, joking around all day, that's fine. That's the stereotypes will be fine.
Yeah,
But they have to have that understanding of each other.
yeah, yeah. What do
To
you
That's
got?
kind
just
of
me.
go along with 3J, like, me and Ray, I used to always tease you about being light skinned and taking great photos. And I mean, I understand that the relationship is there, and I'm not saying that out of jealousy or anything like that. It's more of a joke. Um, but I think what has to happen is one. I mean, to 3J, just to expand on what you're saying, I think it's like the relationship has to be there, in order for those types of things to happen. Like I have to, and partially because I have to know, like in a case, and I think this could be like in a case where we're making a joke about something, or you're just sharing your ignorance in like a stereotype that you have. Like earlier when he came on and he worked like a Jamaican. Like I think you had a sense of comfort in sharing like the ignorance of the stereotype with somebody that you understands. Know like you're not using it in a derogatory term. It's more like this is something you thought and it was out of ignorance. So it's like when you can have that space and that space for like healthy understanding and learning, I think that we can allow stereotypes in that place because I think it deals with reality in some sense. Because like Rima said, there's an element to reality even if like the conclusions that come from it are a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I agree completely. I think the situations where it becomes touchy is like if I have an understanding with a friend, and we joke about stereotypes, and say it's me and one of my white friends, and we're joking about I don't know any racial stereotype. Say it's like black stereotypes, and then he brings in another white friend who I don't know, and he's making those jokes. At that point, like I look at my friend because I'm like, this is your friend. You brought him here, and I don't know why he thinks it's cool to
Who
joke like
mans is
that.
this?
I know me. Yeah.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
yeah. So it's at that point I'm just kind of like, it makes me like question everything that's going on, even though like I know that this person is my friend, but it makes me question like the company you keep and like what you're really about. So I feel like those are like really touchy times. Um, yeah.
I think that like it also depends on like their heart, right? Like there's some people that they might say something ignorant and I'm like, listen, I care about you, you're my homie, let me explain it out to you and teach you and welcome you to like sensibility. But then there's some people I'm just like, it is not my responsibility or my burden to teach you about yourself and what you said that was wrong. So I think in those things I'm quick to cut them off. Like, I don't really need that in
Hmm.
my space. Like, for example, my cousins are all really into like sneaker culture, and you know, they like really bond with David over that. Yeah, and then there's like these random white guys who you like will, you know, rock these Jordans and blah blah blah, but they don't act. They're like culture vultures. Like, they're kind of just
Exactly.
stealing
Exactly.
whatever they want from
Yeah.
Black culture
Yeah.
without actually respecting it. And I
Yeah.
think like that's the big difference there. I think if there's a certain amount of respect given
Yeah.
to whatever culture,
Yeah. I think your cousins have always done a great job
Yeah.
of like understanding where it comes from and trying to like not just pull out of the culture, but be like, oh, you know, how can I understand this? How can I help? How can I give back to the
Yeah.
culture and help grow it? And I think that
Like, can you honor
you
it?
know,
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's lost sometimes because there's so many things in Black culture that are just great,
Yeah.
and so many different other cultures try to like pull from it and take. Um, but you know, you have to respect it, and you have to be able to give back to it and help the people who are creating the culture.
Yeah. Like, I got into a
And
little
there's
thing
so
on
many
TikTok the
great
other
things
day.
in.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just
And
gonna
my
say there's
sister,
so many great things in Black cultures and cultures of color, like beyond food.
yeah.
Yeah.
My sister showed me this TikTok the other day. It was about this like white girl who lived in India for 6 months, and she's like, I have an Indian accent now. I only wear saris, and like talking the language. And every single one of her TikToks is like her singing like an Indian song, and I was just like, this is trash. Like, you're not one of us. You literally were there for 6 months. How did you pick up an accent?
Yeah.
But
Wow.
This is
you know, like,
trash.
she's just
That's
like, but I
fire.
value the culture so much and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, there's other ways to
Mm.
value it, and there's other ways to, like, shed light on what's going on. Given COVID's going on, no one cares about you singing a song from the 90s
Yeah.
wearing Indian clothes. Like, you look stupid.
Yeah.
You know? I think, like, that's the
Yeah.
Elder Mike Willard said people don't understand stereotypical topics, but people don't understand stereotyping topics, but don't want to speak on it because they feel it's offensive. Miss Nikki says, like, white people being offended about being taught critical race theory.
That's
Mm.
a fact.
And
Yeah.
That's
Wait,
a
that's
fact.
Hmm.
But
yeah.
wanting to keep up Confederate statues and monuments.
True.
Well,
And then they'll
Trump.
say, "Oh, it's because of history. Past. We're trying to appreciate that. We don't want to get rid of it. We still want to remember. We don't have. We never had slaves." And it's just like, listen.
but you're benefiting on the backs of slavery. Like,
Exactly.
we all
Oh,
are,
come on.
unfortunately, like, however it
Exactly.
looks. Like, I remember
Yeah.
this one, like, reading this article, this one kid from K5 apparently came home super sad because, like, they learned about slavery, and he was like, why were our ancestors trash? I don't know, Jeremiah. Why were they?
Yes.
But, like, the mom was like,
That's
oh
for
my God, I
Michelle
never
and
seen shit
Jimmy
like
to
that.
explain, not me.
Right? Like, and that's the reality of it. You should learn it.
Yeah. And I think there has
Miss
to be
Nikki.
more. Well, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say Miss Nikki said I love Rhema, so you definitely have a fan.
Stop. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I want, if I can, I want to caveat to that. And Becky, I'm gonna come to you first, and this is one of our closing questions. But so then, how do people? I want to take Elder Mike's question. How do people deal with stereotypes? Like, how do we wrestle with those? How do we go forward and teach people? Right? Like, how do we deal with that?
Yeah, I think I really love what Rima and David were kind of emphasizing the idea that like it's relationships and it's like the willingness to like meet people where they are based off of the relationship that you have with them. So it's like if like it's exactly what Rima was saying. So I'm gonna be in a safe space with a friend or a family member and like sure like allow stereotyping if it's proper and it's like something that we have that kind of like safety between each other. But I think that's where it's tricky because I'm actually very much guilty of stereotyping like white people, Southerners specifically. And I think I have been like pleasantly surprised sometimes when I go visit the South, just kind of, that hospitality, but, not, yeah, blatant ignorance kind of thing. And so I think I think going off of kind of what Jesus did in the gospel, just like putting relationships at the center of kind of like, how do you connect with this person, right? Because I feel like a lot of times too, people rely on stereotypes to find connection with others. So they're like, oh, you know, like, I know you, I want to connect with you, and I want to show you that I know you because I understand your culture, I understand your background. And sometimes it can come off offensive. Like, you know, it's like that old white dude that's just like speaking Japanese to me because he thinks I'm Japanese, and he's like, look, I'm showing off that like I know Japanese. I'm like, dude, I'm not even Japanese, kind of thing. You know, but like
Or
it's like a
asking
mixture.
asking somebody from New York if they listen to Jay-Z.
There you
Yeah.
go. Yeah. So it's like it's a mixture of like wanting to connect with that person, but it's also like obviously their ignorance at its best, you know. But it's also like a little bit of like I want to show how knowledgeable, and like I want to show off a little bit. And so I feel like Jesus like did that a lot, where he would just be like, here's a typical stereotype of like the Samaritan, or like, you know, and he would just challenge all of it based off of this like desire to have a relationship with that person. And so I feel like every time I get like a little like aggravated by, you know, people being ignorant or saying the wrong thing, I'm just like, literally, what would Jesus do? You know, and it's just like, do I choose? Because like, I think it is valid, very much valid, what Rhema was saying about like having boundaries, just like, that's not my place. Like, I'm not meant to educate every single ignorant person that comes my way. But, you know, when the Holy Spirit leads, you know, I'm definitely going to like try my best to accept that invitation. And so, yeah, I think that's kind of how I'd like to deal with stereotypes. I'm not successful entirely, but you know, it's start, you know, having that framework.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. David, you're shaking your head. So that means you agree.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna kind of just go on to that and say that, you know, I think a huge thing that people have to do is just challenge themselves. You know, when I hear someone say like, "Oh, you know, that person, that old guy who just is just racist. That's just how he is." It's like, no, that's not just how he is. Like, he has a mind. He like the human mind is so powerful, and there's so much that they can learn and so much that they can do. Um, it's just the fact that that person's probably not challenging themselves in order to even want to learn about another culture. So I feel that, you know, when you're trying to break down stereotypes, it's important to challenge what your what your notions and ideas of that other culture are, and to just like honestly go into a situation with another culture with complete open mind and act like, you know, you're a blank slate. Let them fill you up and kind of tell you everything that's going on in their culture, so that way you can get an understanding of that. If there's something you're unsure about or unclear about, feel free to ask a question. And I think that once you get that real understanding firsthand from an encounter that you have with a person, you value that encounter and you value that culture more.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah. And I think to kind of piggyback off of that, I think like you also need to be like authentically yourself.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, you know, I mess with some Bollywood here and there, but like, I'll still, you know, watch Love and Hip Hop. Like, be yourself, do what you like, and don't try to box yourself up too. Like, I know a lot of people in my community who were like, we gotta be an engineer or a doctor, and they're like miserable and borderline suicidal because they hate their lives, or they were like forced into these arranged marriages that they like had no business being in, and then like they're divorced twice over.
Yeah.
But I think like the more people are authentically themselves instead of trying to fit into these boxes, I think you can push the boundaries more and like break that glass ceiling and, you know, progress and move forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to share that we're in. I'll share this before we close. There's a couple of great comments. I know my godfather's on. He said one of the stereotypes he gets is like being 6'5", you must play basketball. I just want y'all to know, I went through that growing up all the time. Like, and I felt like such a disappointment when I told people, like, no, that's like not my thing. And then I was even more of a disappointment when I told them I skied over basketball, because then I was definitely the white boy that they claimed I was. It was like,
You should just gone with
I'm
it.
telling you. I know, right?
Run with it.
Like,
You could have been a Laker by now in some people's minds.
listen, there's some, like, I ran into somebody the other day on the street who stopped me. He was like, dude, he was like, you play for that team. And I'm like, what team?
Yes,
It's a white guy.
I
He's
sure
like,
do.
no, like, you play for the team. And I was like, no,
Nigga.
I don't. He was like, no, like, he's like, bruh, you don't have to be humble. Like, you play for the team. I know you play for the, and I'm like, no, I absolutely don't play for the team. Like, if you want to see me play basketball, then you want to see the biggest joke, right? Like, you don't want to see, he's like, I need you. But yeah, like people always, especially growing up young, it was like,
Oh man,
oh
that
man,
was
you're 6'1", 6 feet. Like I know you play basketball, or just because you're black, like you have to play basketball. Like that's just such a.
that was not your biggest stereotype.
The other thing that Debbie says, the movie Zootopia is a great representation of stereotypes and how hurtful they can be, but also the grace that comes from learning from our biases and knowing people individually for who they are. And then last but not
I love
least, Miss
that
Nikki.
bunny. It's a good bunny.
Oh my! Zootopia is a great movie. Yeah. And then Miss Nikki who says, I think also a way to address it, people have to be willing to have an open mind and be willing to understand different perspectives. A lot of times people are racist or ignorant because they were taught that way. Similar to the church and our beliefs, the majority of the time is because we are taught that way and we just go with it. And that's a good note. I want to say, and Elder Mike, I completely understand.
He said the same thing Miss Nikki said too.
Okay, yeah. Somebody said don't sleep on our Disney movies and the underlining. Okay, yeah. Thanks.
Right,
You're right. Yeah, Disney puts it out there. Disney really does address a lot of this stuff. Yo, listen, I'm just excited. I'm really happy that you guys have been on with us today. I always like to say it because it's what you guys are headed, Dr. Rhema and Dr. David, who are just amazing people. I'm so honored that I got a chance to officiate your marriage. I get to say I was a part of that historic moment in life.
Yes.
Thank you for being on. Rhema, you are so real. Like Rhema, I'm telling y'all, like Rhema's gonna speak her mind. And David, you don't have to say anything because you're married. I don't want to get you in trouble, but I can say it. Rhema is gonna speak her mind. She's gonna tell you exactly how she feels. I love it. Thanks for being here, Rhema.
So, Mrs. Rhema, I'm just stating for the record, I don't know about my partner Brennen down there. However, I am catching the arms. I'm snatching that. I'm sorry.
As you must. Catch them,
that is
snatch
that
them,
was
do
a
what you gotta do.
That's a snap of fact.
Like,
Somebody is gonna catch the arms. Somebody
catch
gonna
the
get that.
arms.
Somebody gonna catch the
Punchline
arms.
ever. Woo!
Rhema, it's on. Listen, Rhema, this has been streamed live, so you get to take that credit.
Yep.
If anybody else ever says it after you, they can go back to
Live
credit and my lawyers will be
2021.
I will make a check off of this. Fret not.
No, that's right. And if they say they're not going to give you credit, then they need to catch them on. You know what I'm saying? Like that's totally.
They gonna listen. They either gonna pay for it or they gonna pay for it. You know.
You know what I'm saying? I cannot fight regardless. Gandhi up in here.
David, it's been great. It's been great having you on, man. I am so happy. I know you. This is your first year at UCLA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So congratulations, man. It's super dope to see Jamaican Black excellence. So I'm giving you a shout out for that too. Becky, you know, this is my sis. I'm so glad to have you on. I was so glad that you were able to meet Brennan and 3J because now the family's just even more extended. Y'all don't know. Listen, Becky,
welcome.
Listen, Becky, how tall are you? Should I say how short are you, Becky? What's your height? I didn't hear you. Say it again.
Huh?
Your speaker's off, sis.
Did she mute it? 5. Oh, she's even.
Okay. She's 5 foot.
5 foot, just flat.
Hey,
that's why she's Shorty Smalls, man. That's my nickname, Shorty Smalls. But she comes with a lot of power. She comes with a lot of energy and a lot of power. Becky, I'm so glad to have you on. 3J Brennan, y'all know it's what we do. Is there anything that you guys would want to share just in the last minute, just being on that you want to share with the people, how they can follow you on social media if they want to follow you, or if they're in the city, how they might find you in the work that you're doing. If you just want to share that, that's cool. You don't have to, but I welcome it, you know.
Ray Jackson, 3J for your love on every streaming platform. Go check it out.
Definitely.
That's it.
Are you going to plug yourself?
Dave the Psychiatrist on Instagram.
Listen, no, I'm laughing because I know that wife plug. Like, go promote yourself, do it. Like, I know that nudge.
I'm Rhesus, like RHYEZUS, because I had Jesus in my heart, and I also like Kanye, though whatever's going on with him.
Nice.
She said, wait a minute.
Can you just hear me?
What kind
What'd
of?
you say, Becky?
Can you guys hear me anymore? I'm not sure like
Oh,
what
now you
Yeah.
can.
happened.
Yeah, we
We can hear
Okay.
you now. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have much to promote. I'm pretty like not super social media person, but if you want to be Instagram friends at Rebecca Joy.
I love that.
Yeah,
That was straight to the point. I
that's
love
it.
that.
And when you friend her, you gotta let her know you're friending her because of the well. I
Right.
love this. A shout out to Becky real quick. Elder Mike says short people can reach that hard to reach place that us tall people cannot bend down and get to. So yeah,
Ooh, a word.
Amazing.
good to yeah,
Good say, yeah.
yeah.
A word.
Definitely look out for. We've got some surprises coming. Listen, upcoming in the next couple of weeks is a holy hot summer. We've got tons of stuff. Next week we're talking about dating, and the title is Are we talking
Or
or nah?
nah.
So make
Mm.
sure. Yeah, make sure you tune in. Listen, we're going to talk about all sorts of stuff like if you're dating and you don't post it on social media, are you really dating?
Right. We going in.
And all of the do's and the don'ts that come from dating. Becky, I'm sure y'all don't subscribe to all of that stuff, but you know, there's tons of people that do. Is it okay and is it safe to date online? Do people fall in love and get married
No.
online? All that sort of stuff. So make sure you guys are checked in if you're with us. Becky, we
Clearly,
met.
like
That's right.
clearly, we got
Right.
Becky.
That's right.
Well, Becky, you're fine, but you
Yeah.
actually met her. There's some people who have overlooked.
Hey!
Hey,
Yeah.
Hello.
I joined at the right
Gang, gang,
time.
gang. You
Gang, gang.
did. Popped in right in.
That's it. That's it. So Becky, you have to let us know you guys have to let us know how it goes, and like what happens in the future, and then you got to come back in and check in with us like sometime down the line and like let us know like if especially if you guys
Yes.
like end up getting. Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
Oh,
Okay.
you
Okay.
guys will know.
Yeah.
You guys will know. I'll definitely have whatever proposal
We
we
gang
go
gang now.
with.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Mm.
Make sure everybody who's watching, make sure you follow us. And again, Encounter the Whale, follow Amplify Network. If you are watching it and it's after this, because a lot of people will watch this after it shows, make sure you're sharing it. Please share it in your page, share it in your group, share it to your network, email it to somebody, say, yo, great conversation of stereotypes. You got to check this out. And comment. Let us know that you're watching it. Even if it's after today, let us know that you watched it. I know a lot of people have been pulling me to the side. Yo, I watch it. I don't watch it on Thursdays, but I watch it and I love it. You can follow us on all of our platforms, social media platforms, at Encounter the Well on Facebook and Encounter the Well on Instagram. Make sure you let us know that you're following us. Say hello, DM us. You can follow us at our website, www.encounterthewell.org. Also, pray about and take some action into giving. We love for you to partner with us. If you go to the website, it's the last tab that says give. Also, you can text to give any dollar amount, just like it is in the picture, to 84321. So if it's $100, just put it in and send, and then it'll give you a prompt on how you can follow. Listen, we love y'all. We thank y'all. We are so appreciative. Becky, Rhema, David, I will be out to California soon to come visit you guys.
As you should.
I can't wait. I will definitely be out there. And also in the chat, I'm putting Brennan, 3J, and I will be a part of a forum on Sunday about race in America, or race in the church, and the black suffering of the church. So if you join us for that, I just put it in the chat. That's the link. It's at 7:30. And if you are be so kind and tune in, it's going to be a great conversation. Anna, Chelsea, and Matt, who have been on with us before, are going to be on as well. I think that's it. Shout out to Jackie. Anything else for the peoples, guys?
By all means, if y'all want us to talk about something, please put it in the comments, email us, let us know what y'all want us to talk about so we can be able to talk. And that's it. I love y'all, all of y'all. Y'all can't
Bye.
do nothing
See ya.
about
Peace
this.
out.
She's the guitar player?